And just start by lifting and rolling the shoulders, lifting the toes, and then just placing the feet down, the toes down. Feel that you're balanced. Just slightly go from side to side, and then go forwards and backwards. We think we're standing straight, but at one point or one day, look in the mirror sideways, because what you think is straight often isn't, and you can often be like forward more often, backwards you can also be, but your straight isn't what you think it is. And coming forward is almost anxious, meeting the world, just, an anxiety thing that people come forward. So it's just interesting to just lift and roll the shoulders. And then breathing in, turn the head to the left. And breathing out, turn the head to the right. And again, into the left. And out to the right. And then come back to the centre. And just lift the chin slightly up, eyes up. And breathing out, lower the chin towards the chest, eyes down. And again, breathing in, lift the chin with control slightly up. And breathing out, lower chin to chest. And then come back to the centre. And then breathing in, raise the right arm up, stretch it up. And breathing out, lower the right arm. And then breathing in, raise the left arm up, stretch, and breathing out, lower the left arm. Lift and roll the shoulders again. And then circle the right wrist up. Turn the head to the left. Take an in and an out breath. Head back to the centre. And circle. You can carry on circling throughout. Down. And then circle the left arm up. Turn the head to the right. When you're ready, bring the head back to the centre and then circle left wrist down. Lift and roll the shoulders and clasp the hands behind you, aim the knuckles to the ground, and that opens you out of the shoulder head. And just uplifting for the mood, just slightly go to the left and then come to the centre and slightly go to the right. And come to the centre. Release your hands, just shake the fingers. So this is another area that you can lose part of your flexibility and hardly ever realise that you've lost it. So if this doesn't work for you, fine, you can hold your wrists or hold your anywhere along the arms. But just try and bring your hands into reverse prayer. But that can be really stretching on the little fingers. If you're being really focused, you would bring the whole hand together so that your thumbs are meeting. That is quite difficult. And if you're being really aware, you would then open your elbows outwards. That is really a stretch. And then just turn to the left, come to the centre, and turn to the right. And come to the centre. And then just release the hands and just shake. That, and I'm trying to think which one it is, that goes into it's either the lung or the heart meridian. So it's a stretch here, and we can so often lose movement there, if you felt that was quite a stretch to do that. But I'm just trying to sort of remember which one it is. You don't know. No, on one of the meridians. I don't have to look it up now. But it's one of the just circle one way and then circle the other way. Lift and roll the shoulders. And then breathing in, stretch both hands up, clasp and reverse. Press the feet down, stretch the hands up. And then a very familiar lateral to one side. Come to the centre, stretching up, and lateral to the other side. Stretching up. Just slightly turn to one direction, to one way. Come to the centre, and then slightly go to the other side. And come to the centre. And then just circle your wrists down again. Lift and roll the shoulders. And just bring the fingertips together and look at the fingertips or slightly beyond the fingertips. Hakini Mudra. A mudra is like a seal of energy. So the energy from your fingers doesn't dissipate through the room, it just almost slightly goes back into yourself. It's a great one for thinking, for clarity, and for altering one's perspective. And then just release. And lift and roll the shoulders. And then hands on waist, feet out a little bit. And just start by hula hooping, swirling the energy around in one direction. You can bend your knees a lot, you can hardly bend them at all, you can swirl a little bit, or you can swirl a lot. And just moving the lower abdominal energy. And then just circling and swirling the hips the other way. And coming to the centre, just dropping the hands. And with your nose, like a pencil, just make a figure of 8 with your nose, a horizontal figure of 8, so that you're moving your neck. Again, your 8 can be a narrow 8, or it can be a big 8, in which case that would reflect in a greater movement. And you can either stick with this, or just change direction. And notice if you get into a muddle, which I have done. And come to standstill. So as we're about to go out of free tests, and COVID seems to be very much on everyone's mind at the moment. Carol's just recovering from it. I mean, I hasten to add she's completely free, COVID free, but she has had it. I thought I would just focus, before we come to the rest of the sequence, on immunity, upper lung immunity, mid lung, and lower lung. So just when you're, I'm not going to do too many of them, but just to remind you, you've done this before, breathing in, either breathing out through the mouth or through the nose, upper lung. And last one. And then just lift and roll the shoulders. This obsessive lifting and rolling the shoulders is distributing the energy up into the head. So creating this energy, you want it to disperse. So that's the upper lung, where I think, is that like COVID kind of?
Again, to the entire lung.
Okay. So mid lung then. That's fine then.
Well, I mean, the current version is just an upper respiratory tract infection. I mean, if you get COVID pneumonia, you get it throughout the lung.
Okay. So this is the mid lung then. So quite partly.
You can worry about the current version of COVID, but you know, you had it. Nothing, is it?
No, I was in bed for about 3 days.
Oh, were you? Oh, okay. Maybe you had the Delta Cron. Perhaps you had the mixed one.
No, it was Delta.
You may have Delta Cron. There's a
She's
mixed
just come back from
Delta.
Italy.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you
mixed
caught it.
Omicron and Delta. So maybe you were, maybe you had that.
Did you wear a mask on the plane? Oh yeah, really strict actually. It's much stricter in Italy than they are here. In the shops everywhere you have to wear a mask. You have to wear the
You
FPP2
too, yeah.
everywhere as well. So.
Shows you how useful masks are, doesn't
Well,
it?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So mid lungs then, you can make a fist or not, and like a chicken wings, breathing in, your elbows can connect to your ribs. just find it, and almost connecting to the ribs, almost kind of loosens the ribs up. Very, very elegant, but it does, if you wanted to do this and you were really serious, about 25 times for each one, and then just come to coughing, and then just release,
Clearing your lungs,
and then just release, lift and roll the shoulders, lift and drop, and lift and drop. So that's the mid lung, and then the lower lung is very much core, talks about core. So feet comfortably apart and breathing. You'll feel the core engage as you go back. And you'll find this exercise throughout the martial arts and other practices like Tai Chi and Qigong. It's engaging the core and then release. Lift and roll the shoulders. If I came over to any one of you now and just pushed you, you would stay firm because your core is engaged. Whereas if you go up to somebody and push them, they kind of crumple over. But and that was part of the martial arts basis, that your strength comes from your core, which was anti-disease. I think that tradition is still very much in the martial arts.
Yes.
But so that is that, and then just a very gentle swaying from side to side. So any time that you want to clear, I mean obviously you're terribly ill, you're not going to want to do that, but that is boosting your immune system, those 3 lung exercises. And they say that if you just do one of those exercises once a day, you're boosting your whole immune system, but all 3 is like a super booster. So it does clear away the cobwebs. And just come to stand still, lift and roll the shoulders. And then just step with your left foot, and this is just a token stepping forward, your right foot at a 45-degree angle. And make a fist with your right hand, loose fist, thumb extends, and just circle your arm forward. So this is a shoulder and a neck exercise. You're looking and following the movement of your thumb with your eye. It becomes a mindfulness exercise. Because when you're focusing your attention on something, it's very hard to retain stress thoughts. And the eyes going upwards, as they do here, disconnects apparently the eyes from the stress centres of the brain, and then just gradually reverse your circle. If you want it to be really strict, you try and keep your hips facing forward, but I find that quite difficult. I tend to twist. So it's an eye exercise as well, and just lift and roll the shoulders and step your left foot back. And then your right foot will go forward, your left foot out to a comfortable. If you want more balance, and move your right foot out more to the right. And make a fist lightly with your left hand. And then just circle arm forward. The mind is being distracted by following your hand, and therefore it's being very lightly occupied. And when you come back to your previous thoughts, you will come back to them, but you will reconnect to them in a different way, so your perspective changes slightly. And then just circle your hand in the opposite direction. And then just release and step your right foot back. The function of this pose is the mindfulness aspect, and so we don't have to adhere to the warrior alignments that we might necessarily adhere to if you're doing focus as warrior one. So just lift and roll your shoulders. And then hands on the waist, step your feet out. And again, this is not warrior two, but it is very much a modification. So the focus of the pose here is to really come into the strength of the pose. So press your feet down, connect almost your big toe joint to the ground, but make sure your weight's even. Lift up from the chest. And then breathing out, turn to look over the right shoulder. The aim is just to turn, it doesn't matter how much. Come back to the centre and turn to look over the left shoulder. So you're coming back to the centre, and then again turning right to the right shoulder, and then to the left shoulder. The aim is really to open your shoulders, to be strong, to lift up from the chest. And then coming back. And then just release the hands. Bring your feet parallel if they weren't parallel before. Slide your hands down. Fingers point inside. And then just, I don't know how to describe this, bring your elbow and your shoulder into the midline. Just opening out. And then come back to the centre and then bring the other shoulder and elbow in. And then come to the centre, and again, on the core, breathe out. As you breathe out, then engage your perineum and hold your breath out for as long as you can. When you need to breathe in, just release everything and breathe in. And when, again, just breathe out, engage the perineum up, tummy in, hold the breath out. And when you can't hold it any longer, just release everything, breathe in. And one last time, breathing out, tummy in, perineum engages up, hold the breath out. And then just release. Soften the knees, and then roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. So again, that focuses slightly on the core. If you wanted to take it a stage further, you would hold your breath out and pump your tummy. You run out of breath very quickly when you do that, and that's a much stronger pose. So hands together, half sweep the suns, breathing in, stretching up. You can look up if that allow your neck is good for that. But then bring your hands together, bring your head upright, soften your knees, slide the hands down to the shins, half lift. Even here on your half lift, engage your perineum and tummy inwards, lower abdominal muscles inwards. Breathing out, soften the knees, curl in. Breathing in, lengthen, chin to chest, engage the perineum, tummy muscles come inwards. Stay here as you breathe out. And then breathing in, press your feet to the ground, soften your knees and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And hands up. Connect your thumbs and just sway a little bit from side to side. And then palms together and come back down through the centre again, softening your knees. Hands onto the shins, half lift again. As you lengthen your spine from the tailbone to the top of the head, the perineum engages, tummy and lower abdominal muscles engage. Breathing out, soften in. And breathing in, half lift again. And stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, soften the knees, press the feet down, and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Lift and roll the shoulders, hands on the waist, and just test your balance by lifting your heels. Again, very hard to think of anything while you're trying to balance. And then lower your heels. Core again as you bend your knees, and just feel the lower abdominal muscles engage. If you want to bend further, you can bring your bottom away from you. It's up to you how much you want to bend. And then breathing in. come to standing. Just take an in and an out breath here. Again, you're lifting at the chest, very helpful for lifting the mood. It's such a cold, miserable, raw day today. And then very, very gently release the hands and lift and roll the shoulders. And then come again with your feet sort of hip width apart, hands out to shoulder height. Really soften your knees. Come forward, tummy in again, and come to hold your elbows. Feel that you then can make an adjustment with your feet if you want them a little bit closer together. Your feet are parallel. You can keep your knees bent, or if you want to straighten out your legs, aim the sitting bones to the ceiling. Just release, let the weight of your elbows almost lengthen your back. But do keep that bend in your knees if you need to. And then just release the hands, the backs of the hands to the ground. And soften your knees. And start to roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Your head's the last thing to come up. And then just lift and roll your shoulders. Bring your hands together at the heart centre. And we're going to come down to lying on the mat. Because I want to do some work on the feet, I'm going to suggest coming to Shavasana. First of all, hopefully we've warmed up a little bit, that coming to lying is at the shock to the, so it's not too cold. So palms down, or palms can rest on your abdomen. But just extend both heels and point the toes then away from you. Extend the heels, toes up to the ceiling, and toes away from you. And just do that a couple of times. And then start to circle the ankles in one direction, waking up the circulation. And then circle the ankles in the opposite direction. And then extend the right heel and raise the right arm. It can be bent at the elbow up above you, stretching the right arm out, depending if you've got space behind you. Breathing out, turn the head to the left. And you need breathe in, bring the head back to the centre. And as you breathe out, lower the right arm and just totally release and relax the right side. Bring the attention to the left side as you extend the left heel. Raise the left arm, it can be bent to the elbows, stretching out as an option, depending on the space behind you, how you feel. Turn the head to the right. You breathe in, bring the head back to the centre. And breathing out, lower the left arm back down alongside you and just totally release the left side. And then now bend your knees up so that your knees are facing the ceiling, your feet are on the ground, hip width apart. And just start with a couple of pelvic tilts. Flattening the back. Your hands can be palms down or they can be resting on your abdomen. Flattening the back as if you're going to lift your bottom, and then just leaving a little gap as you bring your tailbone towards the ground, so it's a gap onto your lower back. And then come to stillness. Just gently turn your head from side to side, but give the weight of the head to the ground so that your neck muscles, your you're not working too hard, just the weight of the back of the skull is connecting to the earth of the ground, being supported. Then very gently come back to the centre. Raise both hands and clasp your hands and place your hands underneath your skull, supporting your head, so therefore your elbows will be opening out to the side and you'll be stretching out under the arms. When you next breathe out, flatten the back to the ground and with your hands supporting your head, lift your head up only as far as your tummy doesn't dome. So it might not be very far. This is your core. And then just relax and release as you bring the head back down to the ground and open your elbows again. When you breathe out, you give an element of control to the movement. So breathing out again, flatten the back to the ground, lifting your head, your neck's being supported, your head's being supported. You can lift a little bit more, but just try and keep your lower back on the ground, your tummy not doming, and then just release back down to the ground. When we next come up, we're going to bring the elbows slightly towards one another and go over towards the right until we're lifting the left shoulder off the ground slightly. So when you're ready, start to breathe out, lifting up the elbows, the head, elbows slightly come together, and then you lift up the left shoulder going over towards the right. You can lift up a little bit or a lot over to the right, and then just gently relax back down and open the elbows out to the side. Just take a recovery breath. And then the next time we're going to go to the left. So when you're ready, breathe in, and then as you breathe out, flatten the back to the ground, lifting up your head and neck. Elbows slightly together, lifting off the right shoulder off the ground, going over to the left. And then coming back. Releasing the head to the ground, and then just slide the fingers out from underneath the head and hug one knee into the chest and then the other. So if you want to focus on your core, instead of hugging your knees into your chest, turn your hands around so that your fingertips are pointing down towards your feet, and it's the nearest, lightest touch on your knees, so that your tummy muscles do the work. And as you breathe in, let both knees drift away from you to arm's length. Really feel your tummy muscle, lower abdominal muscles connect. And breathing out, let your tummy do the work to hug your knees into the chest. If you're not thinking of a core focus, then don't worry about it, just hug your knees in. But if you want to give an added focus, then let your tummy do the work, drifting the knees away, and then breathing out. Hug the knees into the chest, using just your lightest touch of the fingertips. So in yoga, you're always supposed to engage the core, but it's very easy to forget that. Then just very gently hug the knees into the chest now, just release and relax that, and then just rock the knees from side to side. Back of the head connects to the ground. You can rock over so that almost you go almost to the side, almost onto the backs of your elbows, backs of your upper arms, or just a little bit. It's up to you. And then coming to hug the knees into the chest. As you breathe in, raise the left leg to the ceiling and the left arm up behind you, and extend the left heel. Just stay here for an in and an out breath. And then when you're ready, breathing out, lower the left arm and hug the left knee into the chest. And then when you're ready, breathing in, extend the right leg to the ceiling, right heel extends and right arm goes up behind you. Your elbow can be bent, it doesn't have to be stretched right out. And stay here for an in and an out breath. And then breathing out, hug the right knee into the chest. And again to the left side when you're ready, breathing in, extend the left arm, the left hand, up, leg and arm behind you. Extend the left heel. Take your time to have an in and an out breath. And when you're ready, lower the left leg, hugging the left knee into the chest. And then to the right side, stretching up, stretching the heel. And then when you're ready, hugging into the chest. Just holding both knees, and again the same principle applies. If you want to have an added core focus, the merest touch of your hands on your knees. If not, just hug your knees into the chest and begin to circle the knees so that the knees move away from one another. Move part of the V. You might have gone one way. So when you're ready, you can start to reverse that circle as an option. And again, you can feel your lower abdominal muscles doing the work for you if you don't hold your knees quite so strongly. But it's an option. Whatever feels, it's more satisfying. For the lower back to sort of hug your knees into your chest and let your hands do the work. But if you want your core focus, you let your tummy do the work. Then just hugging the knees into the chest. Hold both knees into the chest and then circle both knees. A tiny movement, both knees are moving in the same direction now. So you're massaging across the lower back. And then just very gently circle both knees in the opposite direction.
So I'm just going to take this.
And then just support both knees or both of the legs to place one foot and then the other foot back down to the earth. Hands either rest on the abdomen or hands palms down. And feet might be slightly wider than hip width apart as you let both knees sway from side to side and your hips lift off the ground. You might find that your head slightly moves as well. So in terms of back movement, although you might not think you're doing very much, this is a rotation. So we're just swaying our knees from side to side. And then bringing the knees to the centre, keeping the right foot on the ground, but do feel free to adjust it. We're going to do a half happy baby pose. So the yogic happy baby, half happy baby, is holding the foot from the inside, fingers to the outside. But if you want an easier hold, then you can hold the foot on the outside, so it's entirely up to you. And the knee aims down to the floor. So you're opening the left hip in a slightly different way. Just check that your chin's not shooting up to the ceiling. Try and have your back of your neck slightly long. And you can keep this pose static, or you could just slightly wobble from side to side. And then supporting your left leg. You need to release the left foot back down to the floor. Also, we're going to go to the other side, half happy baby on the right side, choosing whether you hold the foot from the inside, fingers out yogically, or the outside of the foot, which is an easier hold. Knee aims down towards the ground. You can move your knee out to the side, this in the tummy, hand can be on the floor or on the abdomen. And very gently release. And hugging both knees into the chest. Just slide your hands down the shins and hold just above the ankles. The big toes are sort of aiming together, and you can slightly wobble from side to side to a form of supine Baddha Konasana. We're just opening the lower or the inner groin. And then either holding, this will very much depend on your arm length. So if you've got long arms, you can hold your big toes and open your feet out in a V. But for those, it's just a matter, if you haven't got long arms, you can't do that. So just hold underneath or hold wherever on the legs that works for you, just a V, opening the inner groin again. And if you are holding your big toes, you can just slightly rock from side to side. You'll feel the inner muscles of the leg. I don't know what those muscles are at the very top. Charlotte, have you got any feel on that? On that inner leg, just going slightly rocking from side to side.
They're called the adductors, the thigh adductors.
There you are, thigh adductors, thank you. They're very much connected to the element of fear. I don't know why, but there is an element there. And then just hugging the knees into the chest. Just once more rocking from side to side. And then rolling to the right, away from your heart, if that's available to you, but if not, don't worry too much. We're going to come very, very fractionally onto our knees in tabletop. With some very simple cat-cows. Just move the hips from side to side. And then turn to look over one shoulder as you're swaying your hips, and turn to look over the other. And then just make sure that your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are hip width apart. Dipping your back, looking up, and rounding chin to chest. A couple of times in your own time. And then, again, with a focus on the core, next time that you breathe in and dip your back, stay there for a moment. So if your back is dipped, you're looking perhaps up. And then put a micro bend in your elbows and straighten it again, and just feel the pull in your abdominal muscles. Just try that again, a micro bend in the elbow and then straighten the elbow, and just feel that core engagement. If you want to enhance that with your back dip, just tense your perineum, which is easier to isolate here, and relax. Tense and relax. So you're beginning to tighten your kind of inner core here. And then just release and carry on on your cat-cow. And then just bring, when you're in neutral, back your left knee forward and stretch, extend your right toes back. Tucking the right toes under to stretch the lung meridians, the base of the feet, boosting your immune system again, and then just move forwards and backwards, stretching out the back of the right leg. And then lower the right knee, bring the right knee forward, and then slide the left leg back, left toes tuck underneath, and just slightly come forwards and backwards, stretching at the back of the left leg. And then lower the left knee and just dipping the back, rounding the back chin to chest, bringing the bottom towards the heels, stretch, bringing the hands towards your knees as you kneel up, arms raise up, and hold your left wrist with your right hand and just sway from side to side, and then change over so that your right hand holds your left wrist and just sway from side to side. And then hands open sideways and come back to all fours again, breathing in, dipping the back, breathing out, rounding, chin to chest. Bottom goes to heels as you stretch your back out. Come back to kneeling, hands coming in towards the thighs, stretching up, lowering the hands back down to all fours, dipping the back, rounding the back. This time you can either bring your bottom to the heels, or if you want to have a downward dog, lifting up, stretching, walking the dog a couple of times, just stretching out the legs. This is your inversion. Bend one knee and then bend the other knee. Extend both heels, they don't have to touch the ground, and then bend both knees back down to the ground. Strip them, just untuck the feet, bottom goes towards the heels. If your knee is playing up, you don't have to do that completely, stretching out the extended child's pose. And then slide the hands towards you. This time we don't come up, we just drop the bottom to the side and come to stretch the legs out in front of us. And just take the flesh out from under the bottom. And instead of a Sphinx pose, which is lying on your tummy, we're going to do a reverse Sphinx. So hands either side. The aim of Sphinx is to lift and extend from the chest. So we can do that seated. Lifting from the chest, you might like to lift the chin, you might like to look upwards, which becomes a mindfulness exercise. Lying on your tummy, you might like to stay there a bit longer, but this again is uplifting for the mood. And then just coming upright, just bounce your legs, rub your brush, tap, whatever you want to do. Your try skin brushing. You can have your arms as well, you don't have to do that. Really helpful, getting circulation boosted. Rocking the cobwebs away, and then just have your legs at the heart in a V, and just lengthen the body, turn towards the outstretched left leg, and just slide your hands down. Feel that you're leading with your chest, and then relax down. So you can have your legs a little bit wide, a lot wide. It's a forward bend, it's a rotation. It's not Jani Shavasana, but it's a modification of this. So it's calming for the nervous system. So this would be for anxiety, coming forward. Lifting up from the chest is for depression, uplifting for the mood. Coming forward is calming for the nervous system and works particularly on the vagus nerve, which comes from Latin for vagrant, for wandering, apparently. And then just very gently slide, because it's such a long nerve, slide the hands up the left leg, touching to either side of you again, and then turn towards the right outstretched legs and slide down again. Try and keep the weight even on your bottom. It's very tempting to lift up your left sit bone, but try and keep the weight even. And also, I know this is impossible almost, when you come towards your right side, when you go from side to side, feel that you're lengthening evenly along the sides. It's easy to crunch up and make your right side a lot shorter. If you've got long arms again, you can hold the other side of your feet, but that only comes down to anatomy. If you haven't got long arms, then that won't happen. Just coming forward. And then very gently slide your hands up. Soften your knees and bring your legs together. And then just bring your left hand to the outside, either of your right thigh. You can have your hand like this, or you can be a bit more yogic and open it out. And right hand behind. And turn to look over your right shoulder. And then come to the centre, lengthen the body, and come to bring your right hand to the left thigh, left hand behind. Turn to look over the left shoulder. And then coming back, just slide your hands, again slightly leaning to the chest. It's a compensation. Coming for turning to either side, just come forward. Take a couple of breaths here. And then sliding the hands up and come to either legs out or in a seated position. And we connect each one of the chakras. Just bring the hands to the heart. As you breathe in, open the hands out and connect either mentally or physically to the sacral, the base chakra, which is almost the perineum, but just connect to the base chakra. And bring the hands back to the heart centre. Breathing in, hands out. And then connect the space, the sacral chakra, so that halfway between the navel and the perineum, just connect to that area. That's the element of water, kidneys, emotion of fear when out of balance and joy when it's in balance. And then just bring your hands back to the heart. So hands out and then connect them to the navel, which is the Manipura area, coming into the solar plexus, our inner power. How we digest not just food, but the experience of life. How we transform and how we process everything in our minds, emotionally, as well as physically. So then just come back to the heart centre, and then as we open our hands out, we're going to connect to the heart centre. So this is quite a complex range of emotions here. Connects to the element of air, and different chakra systems ascribe different colours to it. The tradition, one is green, one is pink, but I've known other systems to connect to different colours as well, including very light blue. And then open
hands out and just connect to the throat. So it's like an indigo one-colour system, and it's the element ether, which is almost like a subdivision of air. It's our communication centre. Glandular-wise, you've got the thyroid and parathyroid. So turning the head from side to side helps to balance that part of our metabolic control. Hands back to the heart, and as we open again, connect to the forehead, third eye, intuition, centre of knowledge, pineal, pituitary, again, that's part of our metabolic control. And then just move the fingertips to the tops of the heads, and just use your fingertips like right rein just to gently tap around the top of the head. Again, very hard to hold stress and anxiety in the head when you've got little taps, little raindrops on the head. And you can widen the circle, and if you prefer to drop the tapping and just hold your head, that's fine too. Connecting to the crown chakra, the Shavasana. Different colours, sometimes people ascribe gold light to it, sometimes silver light. And just imagine any colour now, just wrapping your entire body like an auric egg wrapped in candy floss, conferring protection on you to have a very lovely day ahead. Only positive thoughts can reach you. And then just release your hands back to the heart. Take a bow for yourself. And I did have one of the poems from Carol's lovely book that I wanted to read you. Thoughts that come to mind. So today's one is acceptance. Today, I accept myself as I truly am, a being of love, passion, and peace. I can see my faults and bad habits falling away into a vessel of forgiveness. Aware of shock and trauma bouncing off solid walls, no longer penetrating the resilience that has grown inside. I realise that there is a space to look back at achievements through my life, wrapping my arms around them to acknowledge endurance of toil and strife. Always the driving force pushing from within to restore faith and hope. I know I have the magnificent ability to live a life I love. And that's called acceptance, which I think is rather nice. So thank you, and all cards of the day.